This is Brian Mazik, the featured columnist for BleacherReport.com, aka Franchise Play, aka the Big Numbers Guy. And with us, let's talk MMA. Let's talk MMA. We, basically deal with cover pretty much every sport under the sun. Combat sports are definitely one of my specialties. So let's talk some MMA. With UFC, we got UFC Fight Night 35 coming up actually on Wednesday. Headline fight is Rockhold versus Philippou. It's an interesting fight. Both guys coming off just pretty much really disappointing losses. I mean, Rockhold was knocked silly by a spinning wheel kick from Vitor Belfort. So that really, it was in his UFC debut after coming over from Strikeforce. A lot of hype was behind Rockhold at that point, and for him to get, eradicated like that by Vitor really just sunk any momentum he could have established coming into the UFC. Philippou was, to a certain extent, Philippou's loss to Francis Carmon was even worse because it wasn't a one-shot deal. Carmon dominated Philippou for 3 straight rounds, and it was one of those losses where it's like, this guy doesn't have any business in the octagon with this guy. So I don't know if from a career standpoint, it seems like a loss like that is even worse than just getting caught with a huge shot. So, I don't know, but we'll see what happens. It's an interesting fight between these two guys. Rockhold is currently ranked 6th in middleweights, and Philippou is currently ranked 10th. We'll see what happens in the fight. I really don't know. I almost want to go with Rockhold, as my prediction. So, but we'll see what happens. Also on that card is Lorenz the Monsoon Larkin taking on Brad Tavares. Larkin can really, really punch, so that could be a very interesting fight. Probably my pick though for fight of the night is going to be T.J. Dillashaw taking on Mike Easton. That's a big time. This is a good card. Especially for a middle of the week fight night card, this is a good card. Dillashaw and Easton are 2 top 10 ranked fighters in their weight class at 135 pounds. This is a good fight. That's a good fight. And then you also have Yoel Romero. This dude is scary. He's scary. This dude has some sick power. He has some sick power. So that could be explosive. You also have John Moraga taking on Dustin Ortiz. Cole Miller against Sam Cecilia. Like I said, it's a pretty solid card. That's the 6 main fight card. The 6 fights on the main card for the action on Wednesday, January 15th at Duluth, in Duluth, Georgia. So that should be a pretty solid card. Now, the action doesn't stop coming just right there, because then you turn Fox UFC Saturday, which is on January 25th. It's actually in Chicago. I'm not going to be going. This card really has taken a hit with the loss of Anthony Pettis. Anthony Pettis was supposed to defend against Josh Thompson. He got hurt. He had to back out. So now you got Benson Henderson against Josh Thompson. Good fight, of course, but I don't know. It lost a little bit of the pop that it could have. But Miocic against Gabriel Gonzaga could be a great fight. Donald Cerrone against Adriano Martins, pretty good fight. But if you ask me, I actually like the Fight Night card better than this one. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. Darren Elkins, Jeremy Lil Heaven Stevens. I don't know. I like the Fight Night card a little bit better than this one. I could be wrong. It could turn out to be awesome. But, as of right now, that's what I would say. Give me the one that's coming up on Wednesday, even more so than Fox UFC 10. So, but what is also just going to be completely awesome, without a doubt, is UFC 169. Renan Barão, Uriah Faber, finally fighting for the title. Dominic Cruz got injured again. He's had to vacate the title. This guy is just getting injuries after injuries after injuries. It would have been nice to see Barão take on Dominic Cruz. It would have been cool because Cruz has already beaten Faber, but Faber has been consistent. He's been beating guys nonstop. Only the last time he lost was to Renan Barão when he lost for the interim title. So this is a logical fight, and it's about time to crown a champion at bantamweight. So it is time. I also love the way that now there's more than one title fight for the UFC cards. I think that was a smart way to go. And now you also have a featherweight title on the same card. Jose Aldo taking on Ricardo Lamas. Lamas beat a dude who I'm really high on, which is Eric Cote, and he beat him viciously with the elbows from top position on the ground and pound. And he's just been getting better and better and better. I don't know if he can beat Aldo. Aldo, to me, I think he's not fighting quite frequently enough, and I worry about him not being as sharp, even though he did look great against the Korean Zombie. We'll see what happens. Lamas is a better athlete than the Zombie, and he brings a little bit more to the table, a little bit more of a complex attack, so we'll see what happens. Frank Mir against Alistair Overeem is like, in my opinion, this should be like a last chance for both of these guys. Frank Mir has accomplished a lot in the UFC. Yes, he has, but he's long in the tooth. Alistair Overeem has been given chance after chance. He's disappointed here and there. So for the sheer desperation involved in that fight, I think it's a big deal. But we'll see what goes on with that. Then you got John Lineker against Ali Bagatanov. Bagatanov, or I don't know. I always mess up the pronunciation of his name, but I got Lineker in that fight. This dude is heavy-handed, and he has a heck of a chin. So I favor him. I favor him in that fight. Also, Jamie Varner taking on Abel Trujillo. I don't know. I kind of fell out. I kind of lost a little bit of favor with Trujillo because, yes, he won his last fight against Roger Bowling, which was a rematch after one could not continue in the first fight. But I can't get out of my mind what happened to him against Khabib Nurmagomedov when Nurmagomedov set the single fight record for takedowns against him. Now, obviously, we know that Trujillo has worked on his takedown defense, but you got to think that every single fighter that he fights is going to attempt to attack that weakness moving forward. And Varner's a good wrestler, so you can look forward to that happening. I'm not sure whether or not he's going to be able to have, just gotten better enough in that aspect of his game to keep Varner off him and just keep this from, keep his back off the, just to basically keep his back off the mat. So we'll see. So those are the, the fights coming up, or the events coming up pretty soon. Let's look at a little bit of news that, some things that affect the octagon and so on and so forth. We got Eric Coach, who I mentioned a little bit earlier, is moving to lightweight. So we'll see what that does with his career. We're talking also about Anderson Silva. Of course, everybody saw the gross injury that he suffered against Chris Weidman. His trainer says that he thinks he's going to return, and Silva's definitely said he's going to return. They're talking about how fast he's healing, how quickly he'll be off crutches. But just think about it. Every time you see Anderson Silva fight, if he fights again, you're just going to be, every leg kick he throws is going to be nerve-wracking to a certain extent to watch. Nobody wants to see that again, right? So there has been some talk about whether or not, when he returns, whether or not GSP would be a smart fight for him when he returns. I think that's a valid question, but I'll be honest, I don't think GSP is going to fight again ever. If you look at the money list, there's only been one fighter in history to ever make more money in the UFC than GSP. GSP is a smart guy. He's done very well with his money. And I just don't think that the motivation for him to go through what it takes for him to go through to prepare for a fight is there. When you're well off like he is, he doesn't have to fight, and if he does fight, it would be purely based off of, just the desire to continue to compete. And I don't think that that's still there for him. So if Silva does come back, I think he's going to probably have to find him a different opponent to start, if he even ever had GSP in, as a thought. So we'll see what happens with that. They're also talking about Brock Lesnar returning to the UFC. It definitely seems like there's conversation about it, because Dana White said he didn't want to comment unless something was official. But it did seem to somewhat confirm that there's been some talks about it. Now, UFC 169 is looking great, but UFC 170 might not be looking so great. And one of the indications of that is that there's already been some talk and confirmation that prices have been lowered for it. It's weird because Ronda Rousey is headlining, and she's taking on Sarah McMahon, which seems like it's a decent fight, right? Seems pretty decent. I mean, Ronda probably wraps her up and puts her in the armbar like she's done the last 8 people, but it's a logical fight. Rashad Evans against Daniel Cormier is definitely a solid fight. Beneath that, you got Rory McDonald against Damian Maia, also another good fight. So I mean, there's some decent fights here, but the prices are dropping, and this is a lot, and fights in Las Vegas. So you got to wonder what's going on with that, and what's causing that to be necessary. You keep your eye on that one for sure. Jake Ellenberger's brother, Joe Ellenberger, who last year was thought to be one of the hottest prospects in MMA that wasn't in the UFC, has now signed with the UFC. So we'll get an opportunity to see Jake's little brother, Joe, do his thing. Luke Rockhold, of course, like we talked about before, he's a little, I guess he doesn't, is not the biggest fan of Vitor Belfort. Obviously, he near kicked his head into the audience. But then Vitor with, on the TRT and all of that. So a lot of the opponents, especially the ones he loses to, have an issue with him. Well, he says that he believes that Chris Weidman, if and when they fight coming up, that he is going to break Vitor Belfort. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Vitor is to me a scarier opponent for Weidman than even Anderson Silva. And the reason why I say that is because Vitor is physically stronger than Anderson Silva. And I think what happens a lot with Silva, even though he's always usually been able to wrap guys up, even the guys who bum rush him, with wrestling, which is his biggest weakness, he's been able to kind of maneuver out of it. He, caught Sonnen in the choke. And, you know what I mean? Weidman got him. He caught him with the clowning, and then what happened in the last fight. But Belfort's not going to get physically overwhelmed by Weidman. So even if he does grab him into, gets him down on the mat, Belfort's jiu-jitsu is solid, and it's gotten better and better and better. So Weidman's going to have to be careful against Belfort. John Jones found out when he caught John Jones in a submission hold on the ground and nearly made John tap out. So then we don't even have to talk about the explosiveness that Belfort brings as a striker. Some people can say, yeah, it's because of the TRT or whatever, but whatever it is, that's what he brings into the octagon, and that's what Weidman's going to have to be, he's going to have to be careful about. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, Ken Shamrock. Anybody wondering what Ken Shamrock is? Well, he's a bodyguard now. He was 50 Cent's bodyguard at a recent event. So I don't know if that's sad or good or what that is, but it is what it is. James Tahuna, who was recently knocked out by Shogun, he's moving to middleweight. The World Series of Fighting issued a really interesting challenge to Bellator. I thought it was really actually kind of cool. World Series of Fighting said, let's do a winner-take-all tournament between our guys and Bellator's guys. I mean, man, that's like the ultimate put up or shut up type of a thing. It's cool. It's really cool to me. I think it's, I don't know if Bellator will do it. I would probably say not, because you think about it. If something like that happens and you have your best guys going against another promotion's best guys, and your guys come out on the short end of the stick, that's bad, real bad for your brand overall. So I don't know about that one. Also, we talked about, a lot of people were wondering, there were some people, after Silva got his leg broke and everything in the fight, there was someone from Weidman's camp who yelled out, F him. And, for a while, nobody would own up to it and say who did it. Well, it turns out it was Matt Serra. Matt Serra is an absolute 100% jerk. Dude is like a big hater because of what he didn't accomplish in his career. Yeah, he got lucky, knocked out GSP, got destroyed in the rematch. That's just classless, man. It really is. That's all I can say about it. It's terrible, man. That's the reason why certain people in MMA have a bad name, because of people like Matt Serra. But that's it. But you saw the simulation there. Renan Barão beats Uriah Faber. We'll see if that happens in real life. Y'all subscribe, follow. Peace.